Hello, 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 everyone. We are trying this again. We are back live. We first tried to go live on Facebook and had some difficulty, but that's all right. We're going to keep on going. I am Velvet Graham. I am here as Floetic Veil to spell on my Instagram. And today we are joining in with Holly Swoosh. Let's go ahead and with us. This is going to be great.
Hello.
Hello, hello. There we go. There
Yes,
we go. Yes,
that's
I
better.
knew it. We're all good. No echoing or anything.
Okay,
I knew
good.
it was Facebook doing it to me.
Facebook
I'm gonna have
like
to
this.
talk to
Oh,
Mark about this.
yes.
Let
Oh
him
man.
know. Thank you so much for being patient. I really do appreciate it. I'm not gonna make any excuses. Say, "Oh, this is my first time," so bear with me because I feel like the first time should be great just as well. So we're gonna
Right.
keep the ball rolling. All right. So
Cool.
I'm going to reintroduce myself as Velvet Graham, but as entertainment, I go by Floetic Veil to spell. And my IG is Velvet underscore unfabricated. And this is Holly Swoosh. We're going to let the viewers come in, but we're going to go ahead and get it started, okay?
Yes.
Now, first thing I have to know, what inspired your name? Like, I have never heard, those aren't two words that I would normally put together to think to be in a name. So what was that
Oh,
light bulb moment that, okay, that's gonna be my name?
okay. So a friend, well, this girl I went to college with, it's so funny because she was mixed and she had like really long curly hair. So I guess it was her wash day or something like that. So she put it up in
Mm.
like two pigtails. And I was just laughing at her. I'm like, girl, you look so goofy right now. You look like your name is like, can Haley come out and play? And she was like, well, Haley, then your name is Holly. And I was like, okay. And I literally had that name since college. The swoosh
Wow.
came from my obsession with Nike. Like, I
Mm.
got my first job at Champ Sports and I was obsessed with every Nike that dropped just about. So I was like, okay, at first it was Harley Nike Dummy Swoosh, but I got rid of the
Mhm.
Nike and I just had Harley Swoosh. So that was my.
I love it. I love it. It's very authentic. Yes. So you are Charleston native, and Charleston is a beautiful area and is well known for its deep-rooted history of slavery and racism. But not only that, the Gullah and Geechee community is evidence of that history that we kind of want to ignore. So tell me briefly, like, what was your childhood like growing up in Charleston in the heart of all of that culture and history?
My I actually, yeah, it was something else. I will say that. And then
Mm-hmm.
what made it so cool is that my grandmom is actually from Guatemala Island. So
Oh,
to
wow.
me it seems like the closer you get to the island, the deeper the Geechee Gullah language is. So I grew up like hearing a lot of it. So one thing I will say is that we weren't always celebrated for that language. We were
Mm.
actually some people were reprimanded from jobs. Some people were actually like told that that's not ladylike. Like some ladies were told that that's not ladylike. A lot of people were
Mm-hmm.
talked for talking like that, and it really kind of grinded my gears, especially after I left college and came back home and found out like how much people really appreciated and loved the way that we spoke. So when I came back home from college, I came with that mindset. And then not only that, I learned of a Harvard University professor who is a black guy with long
Mm-hmm.
locks that is from the low country area as well. But he is teaching the Geechee Gullah language at Harvard University.
Wow.
So my mind and even then I was just like, you know what? That's I will never discredit the Geechee Gullah language ever again. I will never forget as negative or broken English because that's our own language.
Mm-hmm.
That that
Definitely.
that's a language that people actually have to learn. That they are paying money to learn at a prestigious university right now. So I am very celebratory when it comes to my roots. So yeah,
Yes,
that's
yes. See, I'm right there from Georgetown, so we're just an hour away. So, a
see.
lot of times we hear people say, "Oh, I'm from town." People like, "Town?" I'm like, "Well, I'm like an hour away from Charleston, which is like the most visited area in the world. And I'm like an hour away from Myrtle Beach. So I'm like, if you pass through that area, then you came through town. Now, sometimes before people ask me if I'm kind of speaking comfortably, they were like, where are you from? You from Charleston? I was like, no, I'm from Georgetown. I was like, my accent is not as strong, but I'm speaking comfortably, you know, and I'm not speaking, you know, in an academic setting. It comes out, and sometimes I just try to check it, but I realize like there's nothing to be ashamed or embarrassed of, because there are so many very much intelligent people, and whenever they refer to it, because it's a Black language, it refers to as being as it's unacademic or unintelligent. And once I realized like that negative connotation or be referred to as slang, I said, well, you know, if you went to another country where it's predominantly white or European country, and their, you know, their terminologies, their broken English would not be referred to as slang. That'll be just their language, their culture. And so we deserve to have that just as well. So I really do appreciate that you embody that, and there's nothing to shy away from, because I feel like it's a beautiful, the history of, you know, slavery is not, but being able to bring beauty and to create our own language from it, just shows how amazing we are as Black people. Definitely. Okay, so yeah, now a lot about this interview, we're going to talk about not only, you know, your sexuality, of course, but breaking down those barriers of always kind of categorizing what it means to be lesbian, of course. And so there's always got to be one or the other, but I don't believe that. Once especially one of my best friends who is also lesbian, who does not just limit herself to one category and say, well, I'm this and not to follow these traits and characteristics, and it's not true. So when you realize that you like women, how did that affect your relationship with your friends and family, if you don't mind me asking?
My friends, it wasn't anything that was too bad, I would say. I think honestly a lot of them already knew before I did. So as a matter of fact, I had a friend tell me, she was like, listen, I knew you were gay before you did. So I didn't have a bad experience with my friends. Some of my friends were kind of curious. They would ask questions, and, you know, I would answer it because I'm their friend, and I would also want to educate them as well. So if they see someone else that looks like me, they won't just automatically think that that person is going to look, act, and talk like me. So I had to make sure that they knew that. My family, hey man, I will say I grew up in a Christian home. My parents are still Christian. My parents still go to church every single Sunday. They don't Sunday. So that was a little challenging, I will say. It was hard, but for some reason I just had to stay and stand in my truth. Because I knew that nothing was going to change, and I knew I was going to leave this earth. So I knew I was like, hey man, hey, accept it or not, you know, I'm the same person. It's just the fact that I just allowed you guys to know more about myself. The only thing that I decided, like some people would say, oh, well, I just decided to be gay. There was no decision to be gay. The only decision for me to be open about my sexuality. So with my family now, they're a little bit, especially now, they don't care, but they may have their own vices, but they don't bring it to me. They don't say anything about it. So, hey, they love me, you know what I'm saying? So that's
they should. Yeah, so then you're a lot like me. I grew up in the church, literally. We was there about 3 times out the week. 3 days out the week was in church, you know? And so I understand that church is that secondary language, not language, but setting that we grow up in. Discourse community is what we refer to, because a lot of our influences also comes from church. But I also know from what I've seen that whenever a female or male, they start to figure out their sexuality, a lot of times either they're embraced or rejected. And for most cases, it's rejection. And so I know, like, you know, that having a lot to do with our upbringing, it could be disheartening when the people you love, or, you know, since a child, you know, they kind of start to be standoffish to you because of how you identify, and forgetting that that's not who all you are, you know?
Right.
Yes. So, but the amount of confidence and self-assurance you display is what most people need in their lives, especially today, because insecurity and identity crisis, I believe, is spreading like wildfire right now within our generation. Some people may not see it that way, but to me, too many people are identifying themselves with their possessions and trends, you know? It goes from well, are you from the streets? Or now I'm from the streets, or you know what I'm saying? And I'm like,
Yeah.
if you're going to continue to change your label based on what's trending, then who you really are, you know what I'm saying? So that's what really drew me to you, is that you're confident and you're sure of who you are. I'm sure, like anybody else, you might have those days when you ain't feeling yourself, because we're human, but to be firm in your identity, I feel like that's what most people need. So what did it feel like when you finally reached that point of, this is me, this is who I am, take it or leave it? Like, was it like a breath of fresh air, or how did that go?
It was just like, I was just tired. Just tired of not being able to authentically be myself more than anything. And the thing that I really realized is, as I was going through this whole thing, I'm like, dang, they know I'm gay now. So I wonder what they're thinking. And then there was a point where I'm like, I don't even care what they're thinking. I got my own life to live. Like, if I'm gonna live this gay life, then this is what it's gonna be, and I'm gonna be happy first and foremost. So I'm gonna say that first and foremost. But the decision to just be like, you know what, this, I don't care. But I will say I took a lot. I took a lot of like hurtful comments from my parents, like the people that were responsible for bringing me here. That did hurt. I will say that. And I still haven't had an actual conversation with them about that just yet. I do want to. I just feel like, you know, timing is everything. But my parents and I, we still have a pretty good relationship. It's just that I know that we have to talk about that. I need for them to know that, hey, I'm still your kid. You know, I'm still going to be the way that I am, because nothing changed. The only thing changed was that I may have shorter hair now. You know that I'm sexually attracted to women, and I dress a little bit differently. Other than that, there's nothing that changed about me. I'm the same exact person. Honestly, like people that still share like my videos and stuff today, they'll even say, this girl's been funny like this since middle school. She never changed. And it's really true. Like there's nothing that changed. I just grew older. My experience shaped the type of person that I am, and that's really it. But I knew at some point in time, I would watch other people too, and then like watching like LGBT shows on YouTube and stuff like that. I would just see how every like masculine lesbian always had to play the super duper masculine role. They can't do anything feminine. There's no twerking. There's so many rules, and I'm like, I break every single one of those stud rules. I'm like, I'm not a stud, but I'm still attracted to women, and I'm still me. So fuck y'all rules. I'm still gonna be me. So whatever you label me as, like people will still label me as a dyke just because of how I look. And I'm like, no, I have to correct people. I'm like, do not label me, because that's no, we ain't doing that over here. You gotta respect me. If I'm gonna take time and respect you, you have to give me the same. You just have to.
Definitely. It seems what I've realized is that, especially with guys, is that when they think of a female who's lesbian, like, oh, either she's feminine or she's masculine, or you know what I'm saying, or because you would prefer, you're more comfortable in a certain kind of clothes than heels and a tight skirt, which is, you know, to each his own. You have every right to have your own, you know. And so that's my issue with that is, you know, them trying to be thrown into labels and then treating females who are lesbian, who they think are studs, as treating them as if, you know, they don't deserve the same respect as a woman. I mean, they already have a hard time respecting women, period. But when it comes to that, they're like, oh, well, she's going to act like a dude, I'm going to treat her like a dude. And I'm like, no, that's not the way to go about it. Her sexual preference should not mean that she should get any lesser treatment or respect than the same respect you would give, you know, a woman give your mother, you know?
Absolutely.
Definitely. So, so Wednesday was Women's Equality Day, right? And for me, it's a day to be celebrated. I feel like it should be definitely a month for women's equality, not just a day. But even when it comes to that, I feel like it needs to be more equality within the community of women. So what does women equality mean to you?
To me, honestly, women equality means just equalizing everything within the community of all shapes, sizes, and types of women. There's so many types of women out here, like in the world in general. And then specifically, I want to speak to like the LGBT community. I have seen, because I thank God, because I have had the opportunity to be able to explore and see so many different things. I know that there are so many different types of women in the LGBT community and in the world. Like, I will see someone that dresses like me, but doesn't act like me. And I know that the first time I saw it, it blew my mind, but it also gave me something to remember. Like, we're not all the same. We really aren't. But that doesn't mean that we're all bad either. It just means that we're all different. And I've come to realize that. So I kind of feel like I've been brought here for a reason. And I feel like that's one of the reasons to help spread that thought, just to help spread that whole concept. Like, we're all not the same. We are all different. Each and every one of us are different. We may be similar in some ways, but we're all different.
Yes, 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 yes. And as women, we must come together more and show love and support to one another, especially as Black women. You know, we have to hold each other up in times like this, because the world is chaotic right now, and there's no time to be in competition with one another. So also, with being that, is taking care of ourselves and looking out for one another, you know. But, you know, again, you being a Black woman, part of the LGBT community, that kind of, you know, what they would say as a double minority, because you're Black, triple Black woman, you know,
yes,
lesbian. But do you feel like with all the changes and advances that's been made for the LGBT community, that it has been any benefit to you and those like you within the community, or?
I would say yes. Now, what I will say is, like, a lot of people, and I may get backlash from this comment, but a lot of people who are not a part of the LGBT community are now even more so confused, because, like, we're adding letters or whatever. But honestly, this is the same thing that has been going on for years. We've all been different. There's always been trans. There's always been queer. We've always had these same types of people all over. Like, it's always been here. This is new. So, I mean, I just think that I really think that we would have to kind of just make sure that we let everybody know those things. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just think it's important that we all remember that it's all different types of us. You know, I think it's really important for those of us in the LGBT community to help educate others, not only ourselves, not within the Black community, because I see a lot of disparities in the Black LGBT community. I don't see so much in any other LGBT community and with any other races. But I just think that just like you said, we have to uplift each other. We have to strengthen each other, because, I mean, we all we got.
Definitely. You know? I totally agree. I definitely agree. Yeah, and that just tying at it again is supporting one another, and again taking really good care of ourselves as well. You know, sexual health, you know, that has to be something that's continued to be communicated as well during these things, because of course, you know, it's the whole stigma, and when they think HIV or anything like that, they automatically assume that with guys who are gay. But you know, sexual health period, for whether or not you straight or if you identify in the LGBTQ plus community, you know. And so a part of being healthy, I see that you've been a vegan for 3 years. I mean, for real, that is amazing. Like, what has this journey done for you, or what has it done to you? I have to know.
Oh man, I know that I had a major transformation. I could see it physically, I could feel it mentally and emotionally and spiritually even. Ever since that happened, I know I had my own personal spiritual awakening where I just experienced God in a different way that I could never have been able to do in church. Like, trust me, I grew up in church, been there in the womb in church, like for 18 years, but I've never experienced God in that way. And then when I don't know, when I learned that, I was like, oh dang, we don't have to eat animals. Like, I'm a tree hugger, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I love animals for real. So, like, I would literally stop my car, get out my car, and if I see a turtle on the road, I'm carrying the turtle to the grass. Like, I'm that type of person. So, like, with knowing that, and I'm like, dang, I realized, like, we are really eating animals. And then I did more research on, like, how the food is produced, what happens in the farms, how, like, we get the food from, like, the actual animals from the time that they're born to the time that they come to our plate. I did all of that research, and I was just disgusted with everything, you know, everything about that whole system, that whole setup. So I just pledged to not eat meat anymore, because to me, it's not meat. To me, I'm eating animals, and I'm just like, now that I know I don't have to eat animals in order to survive, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it was just kind of that simple for me. And the more research I did, it's kind of like I almost kind of psyched my mind out and kind of disgusted myself with it. But it's I mean, it's really all in the facts. A lot it's hard. It was hard initially, but
Mm-hmm.
I that in my mind, just the images that I saw, like the way they were treating the animals, the stuff that they do, oh my gosh, it was just horrible. So
Mm-hmm.
I just pledged to just not be a part of that, not to give financially to that by paying for meat or anything like that. I just totally just drew myself away from that. Now I will say the hardest thing that I had to give up was crabs. Love me some
I
crabs.
was just to ask you about that. I'm like, well, what about seafood? Because you know
Oh my
seafood
gosh.
is sacred. Seafood.
Seafood was the last thing that I gave up. Seafood and macaroni and cheese. That was the last thing I gave up. Now I
You give
have
it
made,
macaroni?
yes, no, I have made vegan macaroni and cheese, and
Okay.
it's still good. I will say that. I will say that. I actually have a vegan cooking show that I'm going to be dropping next month, and
Okay.
I'm going to be cooking vegan macaroni and cheese. So I hope you guys stay tuned and watch that too.
Definitely. Wow, that's amazing. Listen, I've tried. Well, going back to what you said about it gave you a whole different experience of God. I think some people, this is actually, I'm about to go on a slight tangent here because that really aroused me when you said that. But I don't think people really see that you can really have, not saying, not to discredit the church at all, because again, I told you, I was in church 24/8. But whenever I had more of a spiritual awakening, it was just one of those things where I literally felt my third eye open because I started seeing stuff that was already there, but
Yep.
I didn't realize it was there. I said, oh my, and
Yep.
it kind of, you go through that phase and you feel like you're going crazy because you're just like, oh God, I can't trust the whole world. But you know, you gotta reel yourself back in, like, all right, let's get it back together. But for me personally, I'm not vegan, but I have been making a lot of dietary changes. I try to stay from pork. I
Mm-hmm.
failed sometimes. I fell victim to it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, I do a lot of things more to a moderation because I have a chronic illness. And so
Right.
for me, I have to take better care of myself and figure out what's those triggers to cause inflammation that can cause me to have a bad day or have a sick day. And in the midst of that, I find myself being more in tune with God, and not just with, God, how we feel like we pray to a big God out there, but also
Right.
God within. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I'm like, when you tune
Yes.
into that God within, that's just,
Yes.
it's something, it brings like a peace and a calm like none other. And it doesn't take, hooping and hollering in the church to get that. And
Yes,
so I'm
ma'am.
like, I feel like, that's when they say your body's the temple. This is literally a place of worship as well. And for me,
Yes,
I
it
was
is.
like, wow. So the more I get into this journey of cutting a lot of things out of my diet, and I feel like it gets me even closer. You know what I'm saying? I feel like a lot of foods have a lot, because back then I dealt with depression and low self-esteem and stuff like that. But as I came more into being more knowledgeable of self and the different foods we eat and the energies and things that we allow within our space, I can't even describe the transformation that I've been
Yes.
undergoing. And
Yes.
so I would definitely recommend that to anyone. But if you could give advice to anyone who wants to eat healthier, but say for them it's kind of hard, or they're having financially to do it, or say they're around people who always eating, pork and chicken, all that, a southerner, what would be your advice to them?
I would say, well, first off, I kind of wanted to piggyback off of what you were saying about the energies and stuff. That was
Mhm.
another reason why I stopped eating meat too, because I was thinking about, dang, I can only imagine the type of energy that was in that particular animal right before the time of their execution. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? I know they were probably worried, they were probably depressed, but you got to think about it. When you consume those things, that's going to be within you. So
You
you
are what
you probably will eat a big hearty meal and then become depressed and wonder why. Well, because you probably ate the energy of a depressed animal, and that's probably
Mhm.
going to be within you as well. I mean, I really took it deep with that, but that just, oh man, it was really big for me. So
Mhm.
advice that I would give anybody that's looking to possibly go vegan, I will say YouTube black vegans. If you're a black person and you want to go vegan, YouTube black vegans, because we will tell you the truth. Honestly,
Mhm.
if you need to slide in my DMs, and I'll tell you myself as well, because
Mhm.
you, first of all, I will say it's going to be hard, especially if you're in a house or around a lot of people who don't think that eating vegan is healthy for you. Um, I will say again, follow Black vegans on YouTube and ask questions and do your research. Don't just take anybody
Mm-hmm.
else's. Do your own research and see how it makes you feel. Everybody else's journey is supposed to be specifically for them. Like my
Yeah.
journey was specific for me. Even after I went vegan, or I thought I went vegan, I was still eating seafood and didn't know that that was not what vegans do. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And even with that, I would still tell people, like I said, do what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a label person. You know what I'm saying? Like people will say, "Oh, you're a vegan." I guess you could say that, but I would like to just say that I have a plant-based diet. You know what I'm saying? Because
Definitely.
that means I have to live under the restrictions of vegans, meaning I can't have anything that has been made from an animal. So no leather. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if I have a car with leather seats, as a vegan, I'm not going to sell my car. I still need my doggone car. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not a super heavy vegan, but
Mm-hmm.
I will say do what works for you. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Do what works for your body. You know, do what works for your mind, for your family and stuff like that. Going vegan does not have to be expensive. What is expensive is a lot of the processed vegan foods that we go to. Now, for transitional purposes, just to kind of get you used to the fact that you can have foods that are not meat that you can't eat, just to kind of get your mind on that. Maybe I would recommend some transitional foods, like, you know, like vegan burgers you can pick up out the store or something like that, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But once you get into it for your health reasons, more fruits and veggies, man. Yeah, because like if you're
Mm-hmm.
eating fruits and veggies, what do? Fruits and veggies, they grow. So I mean, it's nothing but growth in life that you're consuming. So there's no bad energy that's associated with that. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing bad with
Mm-hmm.
it. There's nothing but growth in life that you're consuming. So that's going to be within you. So you just
Mm-hmm.
keep that in mind and do what works for you. Everybody
Yes.
always, oh well, you got to eat this. You got to. What about your protein? Do what works for your body, your height, your weight. You know what I'm saying? But I would definitely recommend veganism for everybody. It's a mind blowing thing.
It
Really.
definitely is. It definitely is. Even when while in school, I tried to do a different way, go a different way about doing things. As far as like after you a few classes, you're ready to go to the diner, you're ready chow down. But
Exactly.
I had to put in a discipline for myself because luckily I go to Coastal Carolina University,
Oh,
and there they have so many different healthy food options, like so many. Although there are also so many ways to cheat because they got a Chick-fil-A right in there too. I'm like,
ooh.
I'll look at it. I'm going to the salad bar. But I saw a
Mm-hmm.
major difference in my energy levels
Yes.
because for me, when I eat, I get sleepy.
Yes.
It's like as soon as I'm getting to that last bite, my eyes start getting
Yes.
heavy and start crossing over. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting sleepy. But I realized when I ate food with, too much protein or carbs in it, that was causing me to be so sleepy. I'm like, do I got the case of the itis that bad or what's going on?
Yep.
But when I changed it around and substituted that for doing salads with a lot of spinach, I love spinach. Some people think spinach is nasty, but I love spinach.
Mm-hmm.
Filling up a whole bunch of spinach and whatnot, and put some dehydrated cranberries, to have that sweet flavor in it. And there's so many
Mm-hmm.
different things you can do with it. And I
Yes.
literally felt energy for all day. I could have just darted through the classrooms and the campus,
Yep.
if it came down to it. And I also feel like eating healthy, it definitely helps our personality, our
Mm-hmm.
mood, and things of that nature.
Yes.
And it gave me more time. Like I personally like to dress nice all the time. In my opinion, for me, dressing nice doesn't mean wearing anything name brand all the time. I just like to like
Right.
what I like, And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like it gave me the mood to wear certain things more, even if it was a Tuesday. Like, I'm gonna
Right.
put some heels on today. It's Tuesday. I don't care. I'm wearing some heels.
Exactly.
And it just so happens that today is Friday, which is our Fashion Friday. And I couldn't help but to pay attention to your shirt. I love graphic t-shirts. So please let me see what that say on there. What's your shirt
Misunderstood
saying?
productions.
Misunderstood Productions. I love it. I love
Yes.
it. Yes.
This
So
is
if you
my
are
production company.
okay. So how long have you been doing that?
I just started this production company, I want to say well, unofficially in 2017. So, like, when I came home and graduated from Francis Marion University, I had the idea to do this show called Translations. And that's basically the combination of the word Charleston and translations. But
Mm-hmm.
I was translating Charleston words and phrases that we use heavily down here. So I did a couple of those videos and I was just talking to a bunch of different people and they were like, you have got to find a way to put your stamp on that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, this is cool that you have a show, but where is it coming from? You know what I'm saying? Like what is the warehouse that's producing this particular show? And I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, dang, you know, maybe I do need to make a production company. And I couldn't think of a name until I thought about misunderstood, being misunderstood just in general. And I'm like, you know, I've kind of been misunderstood for a long period of my life. You know, a lot of people just, I felt misunderstood. And of course, even after I came out, I felt misunderstood even more because again, people would think just because I would dress and, you know, look masculine that I wanted to be a man. No, you misunderstanding me. That's not what I want. I just like to dress this way and I like women, you know. So I just think that I'm not the only person that feels that way. You know, there's so many people that are misunderstood in this world. And the stories that I will tell coming from my production company comes from a person that has been misunderstood for a long time. So I want to tell these stories so we can clear up the misunderstanding. We can clear up the misunderstanding, but it's going to be coming from a place initially where I felt misunderstood. And I probably still will be moving forward. But y'all eternity.
Yeah, I love it. I love how everything is symbolic for something else. I definitely, if you get that shirt in a size large, I'll send you over my address because I would definitely love to.
Yeah. DM me after this. I got you.
For real. I'm definitely also, I always tell people, anybody who have any merchandise, I'm like, listen, I do photo shoots every now and then. Yes. You know, I would love to always, you know, I love, you know, supporting, especially Black businesses. Where